people process technology methodology.
So we take a very deliberate approach.
Outside the four walls of the plant, inside the fence. Well, joining us to speak about that today, Blair Thomas, Director, Customer Care, Columbian Logistics Network. Blair, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Blair, clearly there are any number of challenges that companies face when they're trying to manage yard activity, but walk us through some of those, if you would. What are they?
Yeah, we see clients all the time who struggle with all sorts of different issues in their yard activity, right? And yard activity is your standard, it's just like any other economic activity. It's receiving trucks and trailers inbound to the plant or the facility, it's the shipment of outbound orders or releasing of trucks and trailers, and then it's all those things that happen on campus. Just like an income statement says revenue and expense, and a balance sheet says here's your inventory today. It's really very, very similar. Many organizations overlook what goes on outside the four walls, but inside the fence. Cost overruns, right? Trailer pools, trailer inventories tend to be significantly higher than necessary. We see people with spoiled and obsolete inventory, especially in a lot of our food clients with real short shelf life products. You see a lot of frustrated employees, right? So it's an area where you see people who just don't feel like they have the knowledge, skills, abilities, and tools to get their job done the right way. So you see well-meaning people doing a bad job, and it costs a lot of people a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. This discipline has clearly evolved over the decades, et cetera. And when you think about modern yard management, I'd like for you to give us your definition, if you will, define that term for us. What do you mean by it?
Right, so modern yard management for us, yard management in its most historic sense is essentially the management of trucks, trailers, and inventory in the yard of a plant, DC, or warehouse, right? And modern yard management for us is applying an academic business level discipline to the management of that activity using sort of a people process technology approach, right? Just like in many other places, a lot of organizations have put a lot of time, effort, and money into things like labor management, right? Once you're inside the four walls, but they overlook too many times what goes on outside. And there's far more technology available today than there ever was to do this very, very effectively.
So clearly that people process technology methodology that you see throughout the supply chain management discipline is something that you think is applicable to yard management as well. I should think that's your view. Walk us through that.
Yeah, very much so. So we take a very deliberate approach to the documentation of business processes when it comes to what goes on in the yard, right? So it's what are we doing today? What do we intend to do in the future? How do we close those gaps? A very almost lean thinking process discipline to what actually goes on and how the different roles, this is where we bring people into play, right? You have, every building's got a window clerk or a shipping office or a dispatcher or whatever your colloquial term is. Every building's got one, and every yard has a switcher, a yard dog, a yard goat, whatever that term is for you. And whether that's the same company or a third-party relationship, it doesn't really matter. You have to really truly outline what you expect those people to be doing on a regular basis, give them a process that's repeatable, set those expectations in a way that, and get them trained in a way that allows them to do that with the proper tools. And that's where technology comes into play. We've deployed a web-based yard management system, right? So yard management systems are out there now, and they're growing in number for sure. What that does is we found that there are pieces of yard management activity in ERP systems like SAP or Oracle or Dynamics AX. There are pieces of yard management activity found in good top-line WMS systems. Red Prairie, Manhattan, all those guys have yard management pieces. We didn't find anybody who pulled it all together like a standalone YMS does, right? So we've partnered with a company called YardView that puts together a SaaS solution for us. And that allows us we do all sorts of appointment scheduling, we do trailer tracking, we do all of our trailer inventorying, we match what's on a trailer, all the different characteristics of what the yard inventory looks like, all within one system. And recently we've gone through, we've converted from what we called a desktop deployment, meaning managed in the office at a PC, to Now as we're dragging and dropping trailers around, it creates a move request, and we actually send it to a tablet in the yard truck itself. And that so the driver of the yard truck never has to come in the building anymore, right? So if the whole idea is to keep the wheels turning, we've got guys who never have to come in anymore. There's significantly fewer cups of coffee being drunk with friends, and we've really launched to a new level when it comes to driver productivity, dock turns, all sorts of benefits that we've seen across.
Tell me about the verticals. Tell me about the verticals that you're largely involved with, that your clients are involved with.
Yeah, so Grand Rapids, Michigan is where we're based. Grand Rapids, Michigan, it's not really on the way to anywhere, right? So we know that, right? We're not in Joliet, we're not in Allentown, we're not in Atlanta, Dallas, or the Inland Empire of California. One thing that we've found, then again, we are a 120-year-old organization. What we found is there's a very strong game to be played when it comes to supporting plant operations. So we do a fair amount of that within the Michigan market. We do a little bit outside the Michigan market as well, but we do a lot of manufacturing support, especially on the food side. So we're, by heritage, we're a very food-centric organization. And there's a lot of, Battle Creek, Michigan, just 50 miles away, is known as Cereal City, USA. It's not just because of Kellogg's and Post having their heritage there. There's a lot of contract manufacturing, a lot of contract baking, those sorts of industries going on in the Michigan area.
So let's walk through that for a moment. If you're working with folks who are involved in that food and beverage industry, and I think you mentioned earlier there are spoliation issues, spoilage issues that have got to be dealt with there, etc. For the benefit of the viewer here that might be involved in that vertical, walk us through what modern yard management is going to entail for that client. What's the technology that's going to be applicable to their particular challenges and needs? What would you tell them?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, when it comes to feeding the line, right? So the food processing industry is only going one direction when it comes to food safety, right? So the Food Safety Modernization Act has driven everyone to significantly higher levels of discipline as it relates to food safety, to batch and lot tracking and things like that. What we do I'm thinking of one client in particular, where we actually track the STO numbers, we track stock transfer order numbers, it's an SAP term. We track the stock transfer orders, we track what's on those loads as they go to and from the buildings, right? So even as the driver is en route, we know that those particular batches on those particular loads are en route, and that's all managed actually in the YMS, not in the WMS or the ERP. So the WMS has a life cycle to it, right? Once the load is shipped, that life cycle is now over, and you have a gap of visibility. So we bridge that gap with the yard management system. Similarly, yard checks are no longer done on a clipboard walking around a yard, right? So you may have a yard with 200 trailers in it. Some are coming in, some are going out, some are loaded, some are empty. What used to be a job that took somebody a couple hours to do every morning with a cup of coffee and a clipboard and walk through, and every trailer number, every seal number, is now something that gets done throughout the day on an ongoing basis, straight from a tablet, right? So it basically brings yard checking and yard inventorying from a past tense activity to a present tense activity. And it's some of those gaps in visibility that we really are starting to shut or close for clients of ours, and they've really seen a lot of benefit.
Well, clearly rollouts that are involving modern yard management have got to have brought a number of benefits to your clients. You have given us a terrific overview into this particular discipline. I want to thank you. I know you're busy here at the conference, but you took time to meet with us. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
It's Blair Thomas, Columbian Logistics Network, speaking with us today about modern yard management. Thank you for watching.